Good evening, everyone. Welcome to the Mount Vernon City School District, June 3rd regular board meeting. Please stand for the pledge. Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Trustee McDonough? Present. Trustee Maribel?
Present.
Trustee Mitchell?
Present.
Trustee Middleton?
Present.
Trustee Njenga?
Here.
Trustee White?
Present.
Trustee Kerwin?
Here.
VP Kelly?
Here.
President Saunders?
Here.
We have our quorum and student trustee de Grand Prix. Here. Okay. Dr. Smith?
We'll have a moment of silence. I would like to, yeah. Moment of silence.
Royce Russell has a report for us.
All right, good evening, everyone. Good evening. For those who don't know, my name is Royce Russell. I'm in-house counsel for the district. Throughout the past year, we've had comments and concerns from the community regarding fiscal responsibility, regarding the payment of 2 superintendents. We have tried to provide the community with information regarding arbitration proceedings and things that we were doing to make sure that due process was followed through in the regards of the 2 superintendents. So the Mount Vernon City School District informs the stakeholders of the city of Mount Vernon that the arbitrator has issued a decision in the matter of Mount Vernon City School versus Dr. Waverly Bennett Conroy that was the subject of a public court filing and what was reported in the Journal News. We commend the Board of Trustees for their principled and courageous actions. While it would have been easier to avoid the controversy, the trustees upheld their fiduciary duty and remained faithful to the oath to serve the district and its community with integrity. The case involves serious allegations, including misrepresentations made to both the board and the public, as well as engagement of a vendor for whom the district was unable to substantiate had provided all the required services that have been retained to fulfill. Notwithstanding the above, there was continued advocacy for the relationship. The vendor received millions of dollars from the district. Several trustees recognized the need for accountability, initiated an independent audit, which led to an arbitration. The concerns raised by the board and the community underscores the importance of vigilance and transparency. The district remains committed to restoring trust and ensuring sound governance and putting the needs of our students and community first. So at the end of the day, that hearing is now over and concluded. Thank you.
Thank you. We're going to move on to communications from the public. There is no legal requirement to recognize public comment at the meetings of the Board of Education. However, the board recognizes the critical importance of community discourse and involvement in the education of Mount Vernon's children, and accordingly, members of the public are invited to speak at each regularly scheduled board meeting, subject to the terms of the board policy. Please state your name, address, and the organization, if any, you represent. A speaker must register in advance by no later than 4 p.m. the day of the meeting by contacting the district clerk in person at 165 North Columbus Avenue, Mount Vernon, New York, by phone at 914-665-5235, or by email. The board welcomes all respectful comments, whether praise or criticism. However, identifying and criticizing a specific student, parent, teacher, administrator, other Mount Vernon education official, or employee is strictly prohibited. Any such complaint must be presented and addressed through the proper administrative channels. Each speaker is allowed 3 minutes to speak. Up to 1 additional minute may be used for the speaker to summarize and conclude their remarks. If appropriate, board trustees and/or the superintendent or other staff members at the direction of the superintendent may immediately respond to a speaker's remarks. Our first speaker this evening is Renell Martin.
Good evening, members of the board. My name is Renell Martin. I'm a 16-year-old sophomore at the Denzel Washington School of the Arts, a student leader, musician, and an aspiring lawyer. I'm here today accompanied by youth leaders, advocates for youth, city workers, and parents to respectfully appeal my suspension that I received on May 27th. This suspension was labeled as cyberbullying, which I did not do. It was advocacy and a call for accountability. This began when a male student created a list ranking girls by their bodies. He received a 5-day lunch detention. When we raised concerns, we were told that boys would be boys. Their response made us feel unsafe, dismissed, and disrespected. Many of us, both male and female students, felt that the response was inappropriate given the severity of the act. Creating such a list and sharing it is a serious form of harassment that damages the dignity and the safety of those targeted and the whole school community. The minimal consequences sent a message that this behavior is tolerated, worsening the feelings of fear and disrespect. This frustration is heightened because a similar incident happened under different leadership, and yet the response remains insufficient. It feels like history is repeating itself, where harmful behavior is minimized and student concerns are overlooked. This erodes trust in the school commitment to safety. Let me be clear. Girls are not a rating system. We are human beings, and we deserve to feel safe in our school. I made a social media post, not to attack anyone, but to raise awareness. I didn't name the student. I even said we should bring the list to the school officials and let our parents speak on our behalf. I discouraged harassment and violence. I acted with responsibility and care. I didn't spread hate, I spread awareness. I have the right to speak out under the First Amendment and under the whistleblower protection laws. I should not be punished for reporting harmful behavior. Advocacy is not a threat. Speaking up is not a threat. It is a necessity when leadership fails to act. And yet, I was suspended for advocating for myself and others while the person who objectified females faced little consequence. So I ask you, what message does this send to the students in the city of Mount Vernon? That speaking up for safety and respect will lead to punishment while harmful behavior is overlooked? Justice, fairness, and respect are the foundations of any strong community. They begin with listening, truly listening to the voices of students, especially when those voices demand change, safety, and dignity. Punishing students for speaking out against harm doesn't protect anyone. It only silences the very people who need to be heard the most. If we want our schools to be places where every student feels safe and valued, then we must support, not suspend, their courage to stand up. I ask you today to show that the City of Mount Vernon School values justice and fairness by rescinding my suspension and protecting the rights of every student to advocate for themselves and their peers. Thank you for your time.
I'm sorry. Can you repeat your name? What was your name again, please?
My name is Renea Martin.
Miss Martin?
Yes.
Thank you for coming out today to speak on it. Has this the first any of us have heard of this? This particular matter?
You got an email.
Thank you so very much for sharing this. It is alarming and concerning. Thank you.
So I have a question. Are you still on suspension?
No, I got off suspension yesterday.
And how many days were you suspended?
3 days.
3 days. Okay. Thank you so much for coming out.
Thank you.
And that's on your academic record, right?
Yes.
Okay. I think that.
Oh, Denzel Washington School of the Arts. That's my school.
Thank you for coming out and speaking up.
All right. Thank you so much for lending me your time.
Our next speaker is Mark Stuckey.
Before you start the clock, please pause it. This is in memory of one of our employees who just passed away. I would like to have a moment of silence. Thank you. The book of life says, "No weapon formed against me shall prosper." And I stand behind that 1,000,000%. To the young lady who just stood up, stand your ground. Okay? My name is Mark Stuckey. Listen to what I'm saying. I am the Mount Vernon City School District whistleblower. The whistleblower. Okay? There was an incident that took place several months ago back, and I brought it to the table about an employee wind up stealing time. Going to work, punching in the district, leaving, doing the paper route, coming back 2 hours later. It was covered up tremendously. Now what happens is we had I'm hearing a settlement that took place. Tens of thousands of dollars, not including legal fees. That individual needs to be terminated for stealing time. The ones who need to be looked at also is the principal, who allowing it, saying that she gave authorization for the young man to go home to take his child to school. He is not going to Connecticut to come back and home in 2 hours. He's doing the paper route. The next person should be looked at in this also is the person of over here in Buildings and Grounds, who sits at the table here, who allowed it because of his self-benefits that he winds up getting off of it. Then human resource need to look at him also, because they allowed it as well. You didn't do anything. You can't say an argument about it because I gave you some personal information on theft that was taking place, and you said we was going to look into it, and you never did. Legal needs to be looked at as well, because if the board winds up having, this is how it works. The board reports to legal for any matters that may take place. Your cabinet goes to legal for any information that needs to take place. Now, if this is so and they follow that chain, the whole cabinet is dirty. It's dirty. And if I am wrong, I'll give up my position working here. But an investigation should take place, and it's not dealing with this house here. An outside investigation. You want me to leave? I'll leave. But the crime that was committed was theft. And all 5 individuals played a part of it, if you look at it correctly. As the lawyer wound up saying not too long ago, he talked about a case that just took place. Okay? That case didn't start 5 years ago, 10 years ago, or when the person started working here. That case built about 12 years ago. Because certain individual who wind up being here, who sat on that board, didn't like what she did. And what winds up happening is they set and fermented for a long period of time just to say, I got you. No, you didn't get her. She got you. Dr. Conroy has been innocent of all charges the way it winds up being, because if she was dirty, she would have been in jail. The feds came into this building that morning and they wanted to hear the second side of the story. Now, if you want something that's dirty, I'm pulling out the dirt. Okay? Because under the whistleblowing policy, you can't mess with me, because I got the evidence, okay, of illegal board meetings that wind up taking place in homes. Come on, you want to come after me? I'm ready. I got the ammunition now, and it's not secondhand, it's firsthand, okay? Right here. So if you come after me, come on. And I'm not playing this time. I have nothing to lose. I have cancer. Okay? I stand here and I fight for all these children who wind up can't fight for themselves. So if you want to bring it, bring it. Who knows how long my lifespan is? But I tell you something, as long as God gives me breath, I'm going to fight for the city of Mount Vernon.
Thank you. Cynthia Crenshaw?
Okay, good evening. Cynthia Crenshaw. Once again, I am here to address what a negative matter that is ongoing and continue to cause significant distress amongst our Rebecca Turner Academy students, staff, and school community, particularly concerning the board along with the acting superintendent. Actions regarding our RTA principal, who was and is caring, kind, and effective in his job. Please note that this board, along with the acting superintendent, made the decision with those who joined her to promote the principal of RTA 2 years ago, recognizing his hard work and the dedication he has done to this school so far. This promotion was a moment of pride and celebration for our school community. In fact, during our recent school convocation, this 2024 school year, the acting superintendent showcasing her support and confidence in his ability, as well as asking him to get her discount car rentals and to also sing. In April 2025, after this public display of endorsement, to his and our surprise, we witnessed a different attitude. This principal at RTA is very effective. He loved his kids. As a matter of fact, one Sunday when we was going to church, my grandson stood in the mirror tying his tie. I said, who taught you how to tie his tie, your tie? He said, the principal at RTA taught us boys how to tie our ties. He also taught us other things that men talk to boys about. He is very well respected. And what happened to him when he was walked out, for somebody in this administration, again, to go back and ask a young lady, was there an affair between this principal and her, was very discouraging. It affected his family, it affected her, it affected the school. And this principal that's taken his place, there is nothing against him, but when he announced that he was going to be the principal, those kids cried. Some of the boys even walked out of the building because they was highly upset. It is not right for this principal to reap his rewards in congratulating these kids, going to the prom, shaking their hands. It is not right. I believe, and a lot of our community believe, that this principal should be brought back. He is a wonderful, dedicated principal, a principal that sends kids homes in Uber, take money out of his pocket, buy these kids lunch, helps them get home, help them with their RSC, their added recovery, stays on Saturday. He is an uplifting principal, and what happened to him is not fair. To try to get rid of him, to uplift your friends, to become principals and move him because he had more seniority is not fair. Your friend had an affair. She's still there. They investigated her for 2 years. You didn't do nothing to her. But yet this principal, you want to walk out, send one of your administration back and ask, is there something on this principal? It's not right. It is not right. And he should be reaping the rewards of RT at the graduation, at the prom, and he should be in the building. He should also be at Parker Day. He should also be there. It's not right. Bring that black principal back. We don't have enough black men in our school system anyway. I brought the article into you and showed you what they're saying. We don't have enough black men in our schools right now. And when my grandson stood up there and tied his tie and said that Mr. Newby showed him how to tie his tie and the other boys and was telling him how they should act with females, come on, bring that man back. It's not fair.
Thank you. Ramona Parker.
Good evening, Superintendent, Board Trustees, President Saunders, and good evening to the Mount Vernon community. My name is Ramona Parker, and I'm one of 2 Mount Vernon City School District McKinney-Vento liaisons. My employment with the district began in 2016 as a school building social worker. However, prior to that, I spent nearly 10 years working as a social worker with the Westchester County and New York City homeless management systems. In response to our district's large temporarily housed student population, Dr. Reynolds, who was at the time the sole McKinney-Vento liaison, asked for assistance. Knowing my extensive background working with families and the homeless management system, I applied and transitioned to McKinney-Vento Department in 2018. Several days ago, both myself and Dr. Reynolds were advised that we would be reassigned to serving as school building social workers, and attendance teachers would be responsible for serving the McKinney-Vento students. I just worry that this decision might have been made in haste to address a growing need to accommodate our district's school building closings. Dr. Reynolds and I moved throughout the district, throughout the entire district, but we moved very discreetly as to maintain the anonymity of our students and their families. So I'll quickly explain to you what McKinney-Vento is and what we do. McKinney-Vento Homeless Student Act is a federal law under ESSA that requires all students either in temporary living accommodation or whose housing is at risk to be identified and captured under that law. Therefore, students who are doubled up in other family members' homes because of a hardship, students who are separated from parents or legal guardians because of a hardship, students whose families are evicted or in the process of eviction, they all fall under the McKinney-Vento law. What your district McKinney-Vento liaisons do is accept calls from school building social workers, school counselors, principals, teachers, security guards, etc. We even accept calls from the community. When we get these calls, we assess the need and we immediately meet those needs. Some of the reasons that we exist are partly because Mount Vernon is home to 2 emergency shelters who serve students and families. Part of the reason is because we house a large number of Westchester County's emergency housing units. Part of it's because we share borders with communities that have high rates of unhoused families and students, and because we serve a population of newly arrived families that want to make Mount Vernon their homes. When we receive calls about students sleeping outdoors or students whose parents are riding trains with them through the night, when a family is not eligible for shelter placement, we have to know we have to receive those calls and know how to respond. I don't believe either of us ever mention or complain about the fact that we work evenings, weekends, holidays. It doesn't matter because obviously homelessness does not end with the school day. However, the real reason we exist is because when a family's housing is uncertain, so is their child's education. which is the reason that I transitioned from working with homeless management systems to working with students. I realized that within that system, a homeless child's education could not be a priority. However, I witnessed firsthand what happens when it is not. I say all of this just to make the point that whoever you transition to serve the 830 McKinney-Vento students that presently exist, that those persons be experienced and that they understand how to respond to those calls. Because with not putting someone who's experienced there, the risks are just too high. Thank you.
Thank you. And that ends public comment. Superintendent's report.
Good evening, Mount Vernon. I will reiterate what Mr. Stuckey mentioned. It is with great sadness that I announce that Ms. Felicia Allen, who worked in our accounts payable department within the business office, passed away suddenly on Saturday morning. The cause of death was pulmonary embolism. She was 34 years old. Felicia was an incredible artist with a beautiful voice. She performed at the Apollo Theater just this past December. A funeral arrangements are in the works, and I am in touch with her husband and mother. More information to follow. Felicia was so well loved and left an indelible mark on us here at the Mount Vernon Education Center. While we did take a moment, I'm asking again if we could just hold a moment of silence in Felicia's honor. Thank you. The Technology Department has received the finalized rezoning data from the consultant firm working on the rezoning. The information is being imported into our Infinite Campus. That's the student information system to ensure accurate building assignments for general education students throughout the district. Assignments for special ed students will be completed after the end of the year meetings. The special ed department will finalize these placements based on each student's IEP. That's the Individualized Education Program. This is critical information for scheduling, program assignments, transportation, and other related matters. We anticipate completing the school building assignments for general education and Infinite Campus by tomorrow. That's Wednesday, June 4th. The mailing is expected to occur by the end of the week. So parents should expect to receive something shortly thereafter. Letters are expected to go out on Friday. In that same vein, there's approximately 300 students currently who have expired address registration in the district's information system. To ensure accurate student information for placement and rezoning, we are asking those families, and they will be notified, to come in and provide their updated information so they can come into the PPS office and re-register, because we don't have a valid address for them. So there's about 300 students that fit into this criteria. Their updated address is necessary so that we can place them in their right zone. Lastly, I just wanted to reiterate that the Mount Vernon High School Hall of Fame will take place this Saturday, June 28th, that's 2025, from 10 a.m. to 1 p.m. The individuals that will be inducted are George Latimer. He's the U.S. Congressman in the 16th District of New York. Ruth Hassel Thompson, she's a former senator for the 36th District of New York. And Elise Finch Henriquez, she's an Emmy Award-winning meteorologist for WCBS. So I'm hopeful that people will join us in this wonderful event. Tickets will be $40. Thank you.
I just want to mention that Marion Jones Archer was a very integral part of this district in dance, and she passed last Wednesday. And I think that, we ought to pay homage to who she was too. Even in this district, she made an impact on a lot of kids at Graham School, as Dr. McGregor can attest to. And I think in February I was over at Williams. She was just getting ready to do a big festive thing in March, and then she got really sick. But she was a great force for many years, going back to Angela Desso in this district, and I just wanted to make acknowledgement of that as well. And
Thank
her,
you.
And her wake and her funeral will be coming up on June 20th and 21st. Right.
Okay.
I have one question. You mentioned the rezoning. We finally got the finalization. How did that impact? Because students still haven't. There's a plethora of students, and we talked about this earlier. There's a plethora of students, parents who still don't know where their students are going, where their children are going, what building they're going to. Even in the last meeting, I know we discussed still meeting at those buildings. I don't see how that's going to be very difficult because you got all kinds of events coming up. How did this rezoning impact why we didn't get letters out to our students sooner when we kind of been planning and scheduling and strategizing this since, I think it was November we started?
As I indicated, we just received the official rezoning from the consulting company this week. While we basically schedule students to go into a particular building, we want to correspond that with what we received. We did anticipate that we would notify parents sooner, but we want to make sure that we do a complete and comprehensive job. And we just we want to dot our I's and cross our T's. So we anticipate that the mail-ins will go out to parents this Friday, and they will receive it. We also anticipate that the week of the 16th, that parents will have an opportunity to visit the new schools. They'll be available, principals will be available to answer questions, and they will be able to tour the buildings.
Is there any, I don't think I was the first person to mention mental health and wellness support for all of these babies that are being displaced, and the teachers, and the staff. There's a mass movement and heartbreak. And while members of this board made decisions not based on emotion, I understood that. What are we doing to put in place task force on the ground ready to address our babies and our teachers who are broken over this change that they had no say in and they had no skin in the game? They were just told what they have to do and what's not going to be. Do we have something in place?
Yes, we do. I think I mentioned that sometime earlier. We're involved with an agency that's have collaborated with all three principals, and they're available to provide services. I will speak again to the principals to see who's taking advantage of that, to make sure that, like you say, our babies are receiving the care in which they need. I'll send you an email.
Is that the end of your report?
That's the number.
So we'll go on to committee reports. Trustee Liz, you have a committee report?
Can everybody hear me all right?
Sure can.
Alrighty, so in the last couple meetings, Mr. Mundy has mentioned that the district is accepting bids for a new food service, and Denzel Washington has created a petition to keep our Mount Vernon food staff. Now, I've witnessed, past couple weeks, we've had the current food service company send workers to fill in for our food staff because the food staff hasn't been here. And they're rude to students, they argue in front of students, lunch is sometimes late, and the lines can get pretty long, so kids are only getting a limited amount of time to eat. And the workers at our school, they're family. They ask the kids how they're doing, they're making sure they're okay, they're friendly to the kids, they know them by name, they've known them for years. So there was a petition created, And I do not have the signatures with me today because I was not in school, but I'm going to get them tomorrow, and I'm going to email it to you, to all the trustees here and the superintendent. Thank you. That's all.
Thank you. Thank you very much for that, Trustee D. Grand Prix. When did that survey when was it created?
The signatures were passed out yesterday and today. So when kids came on the lunch, they were able to read it and then sign their name. And then, yeah.
Okay, thank you.
Any other questions? So, audit committee, trustee, nothing for the audit committee?
Nothing.
Budget, finance?
No, we don't have any. We haven't met from the last time.
Claims committee has not yet met. Education committee?
Good evening. During our Education Committee meeting, we just gave a recent update on the credit recovery program for Mount Vernon High School. We also discussed the proposal for a grades 3 through 8 summer school program that will last from July 7th to July 31st. It'll be 3 hours. It'll be focused on students who need additional support, and it's going to be one program, and we haven't determined a location yet. We did look at the finances, and we were able to put together one summer program for students. And we also discussed the youth borough programs and how we're collaborating with the city and what programs are going to be used out of district in our schools.
So it's going to be one program that for all the schools?
Yes, one program, grades 3 through 8.
Have an idea how many students that would be?
About 375.
All right. Thank you, Dr. Doggett. Anything on facilities? Trustee White?
Yes. First of all, I would like to say that our facility department has really been doing a lot of good work and working in-house, using a lot of in-house getting things done. And I just checked off a few. They've really been working hard these last 3 weeks. They added a water line, hose, spigot, and outdoor power to the greenhouse for the greenhouse. This is at Mount Vernon High School. Installed new bike racks, addressed basketball locker room fixture issues. Repaired and painted dressing room at Steam, repaired and painted dressing room ceiling, repaired rotten wall in auditorium. Also, they ran the electrical for new AC in room 222, that's at Graham. They repaired and replaced flagpole pulley, rope, and weights. That's also at Graham. And I have to say, numerous work orders completed weekly, averaging about 8 to 15 work orders per week. And I think they've been doing an excellent job. And please continue to keep our buildings in the right shape. Thank you.
Anything to add?
Anything to add? No.
Covered everything.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Sorry, I have a question for Dr. Doggett. At the elementary level, are there going to be any summer school for those students?
Yes, it's going to be one grades 3 through 8 summer program for one program for all the elementary schools for the students who are on the cusp. So for students who are going to be retained, this program is not for them. The students who are going to be retained will be retained, but the students who need just a little bit more support for grade level support will be able to attend that program. Principals had submitted the numbers, so we looked at the numbers of students per school to determine how big the program is going to be. And we were able to use some of the money that was left over from Academic Power Hour to budget this program in one building, because originally there was nothing there. There was no summer program for elementary at all. So at the end, that's why it's so late. We needed to see, now that Academic Power Hour is over, we can see what money's left over, and we're using that money to fund the summer program. So it's a little bit late. We would like to start this in April, but we didn't know if we were going to have the money.
Okay.
So once the time she started coming in, we started to see how much money was left. Summer school, Academic Power Hour ended May 22nd, May 21st. So now we were able to see how much money was left over to have this program. So it's going to be a little bit expedited, but it's also going to be contingent upon who enrolls. So even though we budgeted these teachers, if we don't have the enrollment, we won't have these teachers. And if we don't have the enrollment, we may not have a program.
So do you know the number of students, how many students you will be able to accommodate into that program?
We can probably accommodate about 400, but right now, based on the numbers that were sent, it was about 375. We divided how many teachers per grade level, which is about 3 classes per grade level.
Okay.
Okay.
All right. Thank you.
Did you mention when parents will know what buildings or what building some school's going to be in?
I'll have a building ready by tomorrow. I'll meet with the principals to discuss this. Once the letter goes out, the principals of the students who will be attending, those students will know. It'll be a letter, and those students will be able to register. There'll be a QR code, so the principal will be able to manage all the students coming from 13 different buildings.
Okay. Thank you.
We're in that process now. It's just a little bit late.
Okay, Family and Community Engagement Committee?
June 12th is our next meeting.
Okay. Food Service Committee, Mr. Mitchell?
So we've all heard about the different issues with the food services, food quality, for years now in the district, especially up until recently. There were presentations given showing things that are not actually in our buildings. All kinds of questions and inquiries have come up because of and actually Trustee DeGrampre just mentioned what's still actually going on right now with the current food service company. But this past week, there was something called an open invitation to bid. All right. Now, we've talked, and you've heard us speak, and you've heard Mr. Ramundi speak, said it was an RFP. That was not the case. Mr. Ramundi, can you just speak to the difference between an RFP and an open invitation to bid?
So I want to apologize. I confused the RFP for food service consultant with the open invitation to bid for a food service management company when I spoke, so that was my mistake. All the documentation, the procedures, the protocol was in accordance, and it was done by the book, so there was no misunderstanding when push came to shove. So an RFP is a request for a proposal. We will publish something, and we'll ask vendors for a variety of services to respond to our request for a proposal of services. And it's a hyper-specific request based on tailored needs of the service that I would say the district needs us to provide. And so bids are awarded not necessarily to the lowest, although many times it goes that way, but it's a pretty vast criteria and a rubric where we evaluate all the requests that are submitted. Whereas an open invitation to bid is a bid, and unfortunately New York is one of 2 states in the country that it goes by the lowest bidder. Now, the majority of the time, a bid is a service. A company will come in, put together a price, they'll bid on a job, and as long as all the paperwork checks out and it's a responsive bid, and there's a lot of criteria that will determine if a bid is responsive or not, the bid is awarded most likely to the lowest bidder. However, if the bid is deemed unresponsive for a variety of reasons, you can go to the next bidder in line. So that's the difference between those two.
So with the understanding that we've got, I'm sitting on about 78 letters from students who have just basically proven the point that, food service is terrible. The food is terrible. The quality is terrible. The workers' treatment, your trustee just mentioned in one building. All the different matters that I brought to you, the fact that, there's a lot of different things going on with our food service company now. What could we possibly expect? They're coming in the lowest bid. Didn't they win the lowest bid last time? And look what we got. So my question is this: what impacts?
Mr. Russell.
I'm sorry. What impacts the ability?
Talking about publicly?
What impacts our ability to decide against? What are those factors?
I don't think this is something
We can discuss this in executive session.
I was just going to say, our attorney will be discussing this in executive session. It's on your agenda. It says bids for executive.
Okay.
Okay.
So I couldn't ask that question.
No, I'm just letting you know.
I felt like I thought it was a good idea for the public to hear that.
No, I'm just letting you know that some of the things that you're asking will be discussed in the executive session.
Okay, thank you. I just felt that it was part of the conversation to understand what the RFP is, the difference between that and an open invitation to bid, and what factors would impact our ability, what would make us, you said sometimes in certain situations we can go to the next bidder. I'm only asking a question that I'm sure there's members of the public would like to know. I don't know what part of that is going to get me sued, but okay, thank you.
So,
Can I-
is that the end of your report?
Yeah, that's the end.
You have a question?
My question was just, how do you decide whether to use the open invitation to bid or an RFP in this case? So there was an RFP used for the food consultant, but an open invitation for bid for the actual food management service. So I'm not sure why you would decide one way or the other for that. That's my only question.
It's a good question.
So for the food service management company, New York State has their prototype bid. So the state decides they're going to publish a bid, so we have to go in line with them. And any changes to address those concerns with portion size, quality, operational oversight, this is the first time this district has ever decided to make those material changes to the state's prototype bid. And so that's what we did. So to ensure that regardless of who the winning vendor is, we've now upped the ante across the table and run that through New York State to approve these changes that are specific to our operation. So that's how we decided on that.
Question about the consultant. They're actually here. They're basically they're doing. What's the point of the food consultant management company? The food consultant. What is the point of them? Because I know in the past that wasn't a thing. So what did they do for us?
So in this case, this is all they do. So a consultant you would take on because they have a niche area and they're the experts in that area. So with this, it's food service. So they are dedicated for a few decades now, food service in schools, a part of the National School Lunch Program and not, or hybrids. So this is what they focus on. They work across multiple school districts, so they have a wealth of knowledge and experience so that when we write a bid or have an overview of an operation, we're bringing in a professional from their lens and their point of view to utilize their services for our better needs because they're the experts in that. That's why we would do something like this.
Okay, and that normally in the past was handled by I can't remember who was the cabinet person that always handled that. Was that assistant superintendent for business, or who was that normally handled that historically?
I don't know. I'm
That
sorry.
would be the superintendent of business.
Superintendent for business.
We've
Okay.
had a consultant in the past. Any other questions? So we are going to HR.
Due to circumstances, we will meet June 12th.
IDA.
Unfortunately, the IDA meeting was canceled again, and June 12th is a popular day because we'll be having the IDA meeting on June 12th as well. Thanks.
I know at the last board meeting, you said there was a closing and that we were expecting a check from the IDA.
Right.
Can you give us some information on that?
Sure. So that is the Q West project. There's been a little bit of a delay. It's kind of complicated. The property that the project is being built on was purchased from the city of Mount Vernon. And in that contract, there was a deed restriction. It's called a reverter, which means if Q West does not do what they say they're going to do, build this project within the time they say they're going to build it, it reverts, ownership of the property reverts back to the city of Mount Vernon. At the last minute, the developer said its funders, including the state of New York, said we want that reverter removed from the agreement or the project can't go forward. So the city council earlier this week passed a resolution. In fact, just today, it was voted on by the Board of Estimate and Contract to remove that reverter from the contract with the city. And now the next step is to go to closing with the IDA, which is scheduled for later this month. I don't think they will close before we meet again in June. Why are you smiling at me like that, Helene? We will get that upfront check. I think it's for about $2 million shortly after closing. So I'll be on top of that. So when they close the deal, I'll run over there and grab a check. No, I won't. I mean, I'll make sure the money's delivered. Okay.
Thank you,
Yep.
Chris. Insurance Committee has not met. Policy Committee, we have some policies that will be being reviewed and
I think the board is aware that we have some policies that are outstanding. I think it would be appropriate, given the length of this meeting today, that we might assess and go through it at our special board meeting before our next meeting. Because there were some policies where I highlighted some stuff in red, meaning alert, comment, feedback, and we received none. And that also could mean just move forward. But I think it would be best for us to table that for our special meeting.
okay, thank you.
You're welcome.
Next is Safety and Security. Trustee Jenga?
Mark has something to read.
So to update the Security Committee, building assignments for security personnel for the 25-26 school year are currently being finalized, with an increase in the number of officers across the district planned to enhance security coverage. An inventory of all security equipment is underway, with items being labeled and prepared for redistribution during the summer to align with updated staffing plans. While these efforts are progressing, there are still vacancies within our security department. Those interested in applying must first obtain a valid security license before being considered for employment. Additional information on how to obtain such a license will be shared shortly.
Okay, thank you. Special Education?
Yes, thanks, Special Ed. We did have a meeting earlier this week. Just quickly, a lot of this is following up on things we've discussed all year, related service staffing. We are still short on psychologists, about 4.5 psychologists. This, of course, has a negative impact on compliance. And, of course, we're trying to get out from under the compliance monitoring, so it's a little bit tricky. I do think as our financial outlook improves over time, so will our recruitment efforts. That'll be easier to do. Speech, we're short for our charter schools. We are going to be looking to hire one speech pathologist to serve the needs of our charter schools. Right now, contracting is very expensive. And so we want to get out from under that. CPSC, there are issues also with staffing. The special education itinerant teacher program and related service programs, it's just really hard to find providers, and parents are complaining about that. It's not unique to Mount Vernon. I can tell you that is really a national problem. Finding early childhood special educators is very, very difficult. Annual reviews are underway. It looks like we're going to have about 165 preschoolers transitioning in, and a need of 12 classrooms in the fall. regarding the compliance monitoring, we continue to make progress there. There are, I think, 3 or 4 special ed items that need to be met. There are a bunch that are broader to just general education. I think 9. I spoke with Dr. Doggett at the Education Committee meeting about that. These have to do with system-wide changes. For example, RTI, which is response to intervention, PBIS, which is positive behavior interventions and support, and MTSS, which is a multi-tier system of support. So these are sort of safety systems to catch kids when they're vulnerable and put them through a systematic approach to make sure that we're matching the right resources with their needs. And we should be able to address these system-wide changes during the next school year and then knock off the rest of those compliance issues. So that's good news. Hopefully by this time next year, that'll be in the past. It'll be nice to be done with that. Special education documents are IEPs are up on the website for parents. 504 plans, they can get them through the Frontline portal. And I think that is pretty much it.
Thank you. That's
Okay. Thank you.
And finally, technology, Dr. Maribel.
Yes, Technology Committee met on yesterday, June 2nd. Excuse me. We are in the process of finalizing our IPA agreements, and we're also looking at the other IPA agreements that we have with BOCES. Hopefully that will be finalized. The attorneys have looked at those agreements, and they are finalizing them, and we should be there hopefully by the next meeting. Thank you.
Thank you.
I have a question for technology. I'm gonna plug Mike Thompson really quick because he leaves a pound of flesh for all our district all the time, and I appreciate him a great deal. But the technology department we've talked about his need for supplies like mics and things like that, some updated equipment that really is not that expensive. And we've been asking for this. He's been asking for it. He's been asking for simple equipment. Can a technology committee please look deeply into this so that he can get some of these simple things that he's been asking for some time? Can we have that conversation?
As a chair, this is my first time hearing it, so we will take that under advisement. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you. That completes the committee reports. I just have one thing to add. Mount Vernon Bird Day is going to be Saturday, June 7th from 10 to 2 at Wilson Woods Park, sponsored by the Bronx River Sound Shore Audubon Society. If anybody wants to go, please go to Wilson Woods Park. Okay, that's all I have. So we can go on to we have no old business. So we can go right on to our, excuse me?
Well, I just want to ask a question. Right back to the same question again. In reference to the report that went to the state, Mr. Ramundi, did we get a copy of what we need to see as a board that we did not see that?
I'll respond to that.
Yeah, okay.
I sent all of that to Rita to send to all the board members.
You did?
Yes,
Okay.
I did.
All right, so when did that happen? You sent it already, Rita? Because if you did, I didn't see it. Okay, I was away. But okay, so we got the information that.
Yes.
Okay, good. Thank you.
You're welcome.
Any other questions? Warren? Okay. Resolutions?
Wait, did we just do follow-up on old business?
Yes, we did.
Oh, I'm sorry. No, I did have one thing to add. I'm sorry. So, Ms. White over at Benjamin Turner School invited me, and well, the trustees in general, as far as I know, to her second grade, this is class 2W, to their science expo. And I walked in and I'm thinking, somebody made a doorbell, all of these old school stuff that I used to do back when I was in school, back when dinosaurs walked around. And I've never seen these type of volcanoes, and I never seen these type of experiments. I was completely blown away. These are second graders that were demonstrating these science mechanisms that were well beyond what I would have thought of. Science fairs and science expos are at a whole new level. They had a write-up. It wasn't just about like a skeleton and something like that. It was like a full write-up on what was happening. They had developed sets for the, like dioramas in certain situations. They were all active and interactive. So I really want to shout out Miss White for everything that she's done, and for inspiring her class and for what her class was able to show me. And I thank you again to having me come by and having us come through and see it. Thank you.
Anything else, trustees? Okay, so we're moving on to the resolutions.
Okay. Can I have a motion, please, for 5.1, Human Resources, 127A, certified?
Motion.
Questions, concerns, discussions? All in favor?
Aye.
Oppose? Abstain? Okay. Motion. Aye.
Motion, the motion on the floor.
Okay, motion on the floor. Okay. Motion carries. Can I have a motion for 5.2, Human Resources 127B, classified?
Motion.
Second.
Questions, concerns, discussions? All in favor? Aye. Oppose? Abstain? Motion carries. Can I have a motion for 5.3, request for a leave of absence?
Second.
Questions, concerns, discussions? All in favor? Aye. Oppose? Abstain? Motion carries. I have a motion for 6.1, authorization to approve the 2025-2026 SCEP Leadership Team Staff.
Motion.
Questions, concerns, discussions? All in favor?
Aye.
Oppose? Abstain? Motion carries. Can I have a motion for 6.2, authorization to hire staff for the Mount Vernon Aquatic Facility?
Motion.
Questions, concerns?
So the first thing that blares out to me is I don't see any attachments that show any certifications for these folks to be administrators or advisors for this aquatic lead. I'm not certain if they need them, but it would have been helpful to have something that says that they're qualified, even like CPR certificates, something that says that they're qualified for these roles. I have at least one other question, but let me formulate it first. I'll give anybody else a chance. Oh, and the other question I had was the last I checked, the resolution is recommended by someone who's actually is on the resolution. So how does that work? So I can suggest that I get paid and work for the district, myself, my spouse, family members, friends. I can get. How do I recommend that? How does that go before the board for a resolution and I'm in the resolution? Isn't that like a blaring conflict of interest?
You might recall that that's not uncommon in our practice. If you would like it to change, it can.
Okay.
Yeah. Okay.
All in favor?
Aye.
Oppose?
Oppose.
Okay. Trustee Mitchell, you oppose? Yes. Trustee Middleton? Motion carries. Can I have a motion for 6.3, authorization to hire additional staff for Saturday Regents Review Program?
Motion.
Second.
Questions, concerns, discussions? All in favor? Aye. Oppose? Abstain? Motion carries. Can I have a motion for 7.1, approval of Pupil Personnel Services Memorandum Number 21, dated June 3rd, 2025?
Motion.
Questions, concerns, discussions? All in favor? Aye. Oppose? Abstain? Motion carries. I have a motion for 7.2, authorization to enter into an updated memorandum of understanding with Mercy University and the Mount Vernon City School District.
Motion. Second.
Questions, concerns, discussions? All in favor?
Aye.
Oppose? Abstain? Motion carries. Can I have a motion for 8.1, confirmation of the tax warrant for the fiscal year 2025-2026?
Second.
Questions, concerns, discussions? All in favor? Oppose? Abstain? Motion carries. Can I have a motion for 8.2, approval of the Treasurer's Report for April 2025?
Motion. Second.
Questions, concerns, discussions? All in favor? Oppose? Abstain? Motion carries. Can I have a motion for 8.3, approval of the Internal Claims Auditor's Report for April 2025?
Motion.
Questions, concerns, discussions?
I just want to say thank you for adding the NA on that report.
Okay. All in favor? Any opposed? Abstain? Okay. Motion carries. Can I have a motion for 9.1, the adoption of the findings and recommendations from the hearing officer?
Motion.
Okay. Questions, concerns, discussions? All in favor? Any opposed? Abstain? That would be Trustee Middleton abstain, and anyone else? No, that was it? All right. Motion carries. Can I have a motion to enter into executive session for the purpose of discussing pending litigation, the financial history of a particular person or corporation, or matters leading to their appointment, employment, demotion, discipline, suspension, dismissal, or removal of a particular person or corporation, and to receive legal advice on a pending matter? Can I have a motion, please?
Motion.
Second? Okay. All in favor? Any opposed? Motion carries.
We will not be returning. Thank you. We will not be returning.